Tuesday night at Lisbon, 91 minutes, Havertz comes in off the bench, slots it home. That goal was not just about winning a Champions League tie, it was breaking a string of Arsenal forgettable results. FA Cup gone, League Cup gone. And then Havertz lost that stoppage time winner. And it just reminds everyone what this Arsenal team is capable of doing, the resilience that they have. And now, 96 hours later, Arsenal take on Bournemouth at the Emirates. And if Arsenal win this game, they'll be 73 points with 6 games to go. So stay with me, guys. We're going to look at the road to 90, how the numbers look brutal, but yet beautiful as well. And I'll show you exactly why there is no more room for error. Now, here's what we're going to do in this preview. We're going to look at the lineups. We're going to look at tactics. We're going to look at Max Dowman, how he might be used in this game, and how Mikel Arteta will make decisions about his usage for the next couple of games, including this game, as well. And exactly what Arteta's decision has to be in this game, including score predictions. And if you haven't seen the Everton reaction just yet, I've got a link to it at the end. It's got the full Dortmund deep analysis in that game, plus why the 9-point gap is both more and less comfortable than it looks. And the tactical concerns that haven't gone away. It's what 13 minutes before kickoff. So let's get into it. Okay, right. Let's start with who's available and how both teams will line up in this game. Arsenal, we've heard the story. Saka might be available. Timber might be fit. There have been rumors about Eze. Mikel Arteta should have done his press conference by now. We might have a bit more clarity on who might be available. But I expect Arsenal to line up in the way that we typically do with a 4-2-3-1 system. You've got Raya at the back. Then you've got Timber. Saliba, Timber, if he's fit and he's ready to play. You've got Saliba, you've got Gabriel, you've got Calafiori and Zubimendi, and then Rice. I think, those kind of pick themselves for this game. And then you've got Madueke on the right. You've got Trossard. I think it might be Martinelli. The rotation, as we might see for the next coming games, will be between Martinelli and Trossard. So Trossard started in the Champions League game. Martinelli might actually start this game, as well. And then you've got Gyökeres up front. Incidentally, the decision about playing, Odegaard, you can see that he's getting more and more into the game, and clearly he's not yet 100%. So we'll probably see, some adjustment depending on who, gets on that bench on Saturday. Now for Bournemouth, obviously Semenyo left in January, so they are a lot less terrifying than what they would typically be. And it kind of shows how important Semenyo was for Bournemouth. I think Bournemouth is going to set up like this, 4-2-3-1, mirror Arsenal. Petrovic, Truffert, Senesi, Hill, Jimenez, Christie, Scott, Adili, Tavernier, Ryan, and Evanilson. I think Krupi might have a chance to break into the team, but I understand he's been, struggling with some injury concerns, so he might be on the bench for this one. Okay, now that we've talked about the 11, I want to talk about the tactics, and specifically the one question that decides whether Arsenal win comfortably or make this far more stressful than it needs to be. So big picture, Arsenal dominate possession and Bournemouth sit deep. This is how it always goes. And it's also why Bournemouth have drawn 15 out of their 31 games this season. They are the Premier League's most comfortable draw merchants, and they're absolutely fine with it. They do not care It's the result. If you look at their last couple of games, I think they've won one and drawn five. So it kind of tells you exactly what Bournemouth is all about. And Arsenal's plan is going to be, especially now in this stage of the season, Rice and Zubimendi controlling tempo. Rice sometimes looks absolutely knackered when you just see him when the video pans to him, but he's very very important in this team. Martinelli and Madueke would have to stretch the pitch on the wide areas, and then Gyökeres will have to occupy the two centre backs and create pockets that Odegaard can arrive into. Now, on paper, this should all be clean, but we know that Bournemouth's plan is going to be to set up in a mid block way, and they're going to force Arsenal wide and wait for the transition. With Tavernier in behind, and we've seen this work until Arsenal finds a way, to stop that. And here is the question I mentioned earlier on, the one that decides how this game will feel at full time. Can Arsenal turn 60% possession to high value chances? Or do they just pass it around the box until someone at home throws the remote at the telly? Um, I think that's really is the tactical story of Arsenal season this season. And against Sporting coming up in 4 days' time, I think you're going to see Arteta prioritize being patient, being controlled, rather than free flowing, entertaining games. And listen, the critics are going to come for us, but we do not care. Mikel Arteta is looking clearly at the finishing line, and matches that end up in chaos with people, you attack us, we attack us. It's not exactly the kind of game that Mikel Arteta wants to play. So I expect that to be a little bit more composed for Arsenal. The tactical picture, does matter, but I think just zooming out completely, because this game isn't just 3 points; it's the first move in a seven-game sprint. Arsenal genuinely cannot afford to drop more than 1 point. And let me show you exactly why. See, Arsenal sit on 70 points, nine clear of Manchester City. That lead looks comfortable. The math is not. For us to be comfortable, like I always say, that we needed 90 points, and we're still within target of getting to that 90 points, despite the amount of games that we've thrown away. So Arsenal need 20 from the remaining seven games. That means 6 wins and a draw. Now, realistically, and I've done a video of this, check this out. Arsenal technically needs about 85 points from now on to actually win the league. But I think 85 points, I think it frames you psychologically too close to the line. And you want to give as much comfort and much space, especially if you want to go far in the Champions League, which is exactly, what Arsenal is trying to do. So, at a minimum, you cannot drop more than one game. You drop two games, and then the margin is really, really gone. It's that simple and that unforgiving. Now, five of those seven games that are remaining are winnable on paper, right? So you've got Bournemouth uh, on Saturday, then you've got Fulham, you've got West Ham, you've got Burnley, Palace. Two are genuinely hard, and that's City away and Newcastle at home. And it's more hard based on reputation. Obviously, we're going to the Etihad, and you know that Man City are going to put everything into this game. And Newcastle, because they just like to play Arsenal hard. That's just how that has always gone. And Arsenal can drop 1 point from across those five winnable games, one, and still hit 90. If they get something at Etihad, that's really important. And that is it, really, just one. And here's the thing, that Man United loss, that Wolves draw, the Brentford draw, the avoidable games, that was 7 points dropped. So the budget for mistake has already been spent. There is nothing left in the bank. So this game is one of zero tolerance, right? You win here, you go to Lisbon in 4 days with league momentum. You win here and 90 becomes really, really possible. And that first trophy in a long time is now in sight. Now, quick reminder before we go to Dorman, if you haven't already subscribed, post-match video, usually goes up and we do our 3 ups and 3 downs after the game. And then we just do a little bit of a tactical verdict and whether Bournemouth made us suffer or not. Right. Okay. So let's talk about Max Dowman. 2 records in 3 weeks. And beyond both of them, there is a specific role Arteta has for him in this running that nobody's talking about. Now, let's be clear. What we're actually dealing with here. 3 weeks ago against Everton at the Emirates, Max Dowman became the youngest Premier League goal scorer in history. 16 years and 73 days. Historic, right? Composed, finished. I can still see that run that he made. And obviously, the Emirates went berserk, completely berserk. Then on Tuesday night in Lisbon, he became the youngest player ever to appear in a Champions League quarterfinal. 16 years and 97 days. So in the space of 3 weeks, Max Dowman broke 2 all-time records in 2 different competitions. I think there is a lot more to be expected from this young kid. Now, the part nobody is really talking about yet, Arteta has a specific template for how he deploys academy players in tight games late in the season. We saw it with Lewis Kelly last year. The pattern, 75th minute game, game is level or 1-0, and he brings on someone, with pace, with a little bit of directness that the opposition hasn't prepared for. Fresh legs, no fear, nothing to lose, and let that energy do the work. And Dorman is built for that exact role. This is exactly what he did in the game against Everton. Came into the game in the 70-something minute and completely stole the show. And he doesn't need to carry the game. He just needs to play for 10 minutes. He needs to just do a job for 10 minutes. And in the 7-game sprints where every single point counts, that's the kind of unpredictable, historic 16-year-old option off the bench that is worth more than people are giving credit for. Okay, let's talk about the 3 individual battles that will decide this match. Because if Arsenal get this right, it's going to be comfortable. Lose even one of them, and Bournemouth will make this interesting. So the first battle is between Rice and Alex Scott. Who's going to control the tempo in that midfield? Those 2 players come with a lot of quality, and Alex Scott will be raring to put himself against Declan Rice. Obviously, Declan Rice is an England international, and Alex Scott will be looking at that and saying, well, can I win this midfield battle? Because if he does, then it changes the way that this game goes as well. Second battle is going to be between Saliba and Evanilson. And this is all about aerial and second balls. This guy is a nuisance. Set pieces, second balls from deep. Bournemouth's best route is to disorganize Arsenal from restarts. And Saliba has been exceptional all season. Of course, he's had his dips like every player does, but Evanilson is physical. And, I think Saliba will be ready for this. This is a contest that I'm going to be looking at very, very keenly. And then final one, Martinelli and Madueke versus Truffert and Jimenez. Can Arsenal create overloads in those wide areas? And for me, this is where the game is won or lost. If Madueke and Martinelli cannot isolate, and maybe it's Trossard, they cannot isolate the fullbacks and manufacture 2-on-1 scenarios, the block will open and then we can do something, right? But if they can't, then we're back to wondering, why Arsenal have 62% possession and no shots on target at the end of the day. So where does this one finish, guys? I would say 2-0 to the Arsenal. Controlled, professional, occasionally frustrating, ultimately convincing. If I'm wrong, well, I have to read every comment about this in the post match, including the ones that people will be screaming about. So listen, we'll do the three ups and three downs, after the game. And I know this week has been a lot, right? The last couple of weeks for Arsenal fans, I would say, has been a lot. Two defeats, then Lisbon, then Bournemouth, and then Sporting again on Wednesday. But that's what it looks like when a club is competing on every front. And honestly, I wouldn't have had it any other way. I think the order of the defeats, kind of leaves the bad taste in people's mouth. I think if you change the order and say Arsenal win the Premier League or win the Champions League and then lose in the FA Cup or lose in the League Cup, I think people are looking at things slightly different. But of course, because of the way that these games have happened, everyone is talking about the bottle and all of that. Um, Listen, guys, I just think that, we are placed in a very, very crucial position right now. And, Arsenal just needs to go and do the business. If you want that Dortmund full analysis, look at the link for the Everton game. Like I said, it will be at the end, and or you go straight to the Champions League preview. We tend to do it slightly differently for the previews, and then we kind of break it down after the game. Drop your score predictions. Arsenal 2-0 for me. I'll read the best ones in the post match, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Come on, you Gunners.